Hey everyone, welcome back. This is my review of Boku no Hero Chapter 14. Oh boy, Chapter 14. A lot to talk about in this chapter. This might be a bit of a longer review than these reviews normally are, because there's a lot to talk about here, right? The first thing I want to discuss, just jumping right into it here. The first thing I want to discuss. Hold on. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to discuss is the art. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I know I've complimented the art before in this series, but I don't know if I've mentioned it, in detail before, alright? But I love the art in this series. I think the art in this series is better than most shonen art styles, most shonen manga art styles. I really do. I think it's better than most. It's so fucking good. It looks so fucking badass. Especially when you see Aiza, I think it's Aizawa putting on those fucking goggles preparing for battle. It's just so much detail and the shading looks so good and the art just looks so fucking good in that scene. And in the entire, chapter so far and the entire manga so far too. Okay, speaking of badass, Aizawa is extremely fucking badass in this chapter. Okay? He is extremely fucking badass in this chapter. He's taking out fucking enemies left, right, and center. And we also learn a little bit more about his power. That apparently his power to temporarily take away people's quirks only works on two type of quirks, which are imitator quirks and transformation quirks. They won't work on any other type of quirks. So he is kind of limited there. That combined with the weakness that we learned a few chapters ago about him, once he blinks, it deactivates. So there's lots of weaknesses with his quirk. It's not like an overpowered, broken type of ability, There are lots of weaknesses to it, which is, in a way, kind of a good thing, Also, God, they're starting to touch some pretty serious things, but they do not skimp on the comedy. Fucking Grape Boy. He was already confirmed pervert, but he's just so fucking epic and so amazing, so funny. He's looking at freaking Aisu, I think her name is, okay? The one with basically the one with the frog ability that we learn in this chapter. And he's looking at her, okay? And he's monologuing to himself. He's like, well, so she's a frog. So why is she so, in the chest department? And he's rubbing up against her fucking chest, and it's and her reaction is priceless because she doesn't even seem to react to it that much. It's oh my god. Oh my god, that fucking killed me. That fucking killed me, okay? I also want to talk about Aisu a little bit as well because I'm still shipping Ochako and Izuku because the mangaka has yet to give me a reason not to, and until the mangaka gives me a reason not to, I'm still going to ship those two, but I understand why people like Aisu and have been shipping Aisu and Izuku. I'm not going to yet, but I understand why people would. Why people like her character, because she's a pretty good character. Alright, first off, in general, she's very straightforward and blunt with everything, okay? She really is. And to me, it makes her a really likable character. Alright, in addition to that, she's just fucking hilarious with her fucking ability. Seriously, this chapter, oh my god. Damn, she's fucking hilarious. So she's a really good character. Okay, and I understand why people like her so much. Now the biggest thing, though, I want to talk about this chapter has to do with Izuku and some of his dialogue in this chapter. Really the dialogue in general. Because the dialogue is so fucking good in this series, especially in this chapter. And this is actually going to lead me into a theory that I have about Izuku. Izuku in this chapter is trying to contemplate as to exactly why the villains would want to kill All Might. And these are his exact lines. I actually typed it up here. I can actually see from here, so yeah. Why do they want to kill him? Because he's a deterrent against villains? Against evil? Him referring to All Might. Or is it just because he's called the symbol of peace? That can't be. it must run deeper. But then what could it be? Now, this may just seem like him normally contemplating something, but I think it's a bit more than that. For a couple of reasons, alright? One, well, obviously it's very interesting dialogue, because normally you wouldn't have a protagonist in a shonen, let alone a shonen jump series, contemplating this. They wouldn't care. They would just want to defeat all evil. You know? Like, that's the reality of the way that most of them would react to it. They just wouldn't give a shit as to why they're doing this. So that's one reason why it's very interesting. Two, now the second reason why this is interesting is because it brings me to my theory that maybe Izuku's not going to be a hero throughout the course of the entire story. There's two ways I think that could turn out. Either he becomes a villain, or he becomes kind of like an anti-hero, where he's still hunting villains, but maybe he's not, maybe instead of like bringing them to justice, he just flat out kills them. Still remains as the main character, of course, but just flat out kills them. That would be kind of a really amazing twist to the series. And what's the one thing you could think at this point would really cause that, aside from maybe the death of his mother? But so far we haven't really seen any reason for villains to target his mother. What's the one thing you could really think of at this point that could really push him down that path? The death of All Might. If All Might dies and he sees the death, and the villains are the ones that caused it, I have a feeling that one of those two things is, if it's if it's the death of All Might that causes that causes him to not be a hero anymore, then he'll obviously be the anti-hero, where he'll be hunting out and killing villains. In terms of the whole thing where he becomes a villain, he might realize why these group of villains want to kill All Might. He might agree with them and join them. Though that's the other theory right there. Alright, so hold on a second. So overall, this chapter was really good. Best chapter in the series so far. Right? Seriously, this series just keeps getting better and better and better by the chapter. Okay. And Izuku, he's such a good character. Such a great main character so far. He's getting better. He is, okay? Like, this series is greatness now. Like, we're only 14 chapters in, and I can already say, at least for the time being, that this series is greatness. Alright, because just look at this. This is so fucking good. Also, the Naruto references are obvious, but I've heard from Hunter x Hunter fans, which I'm not, because I've never read or watched it, that apparently there's Hunter x Hunter references in this series too. I'm like, whoa, the fuck? Hunter x Hunter references. I wouldn't know that because, again, I have never read or watched Hunter x Hunter as of yet, but still, that's pretty fucking cool, you know. I wonder what other kind of references that there are in this series. They're kind of interesting. So anyways, tell me your thoughts about this chapter in the comment section below. Do you like Aisu? And even if you do, are you still shipping Ochako and Izuku like I am? Or are you one of the people who's shipping Aisu and Izuku? Again, this mangaka has yet to give me a reason to discontinue shipping Ochako and Izuku, so until he or she does, I'm going to continue to ship those two myself, alright? And, yeah, so, if you've yet to read this chapter, I definitely recommend that you do. I can't wait to read chapter 15. I believe chapter 16 did come out today, but, or maybe it was yesterday, whatever, but I still have to read chapter 15, though, then 16. So, anyways, overall, I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. These after guys, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.